Don't start yet. Don't.
Bless you.
And now you can. I'm sorry. I mute the microphone, but I knew it was coming. But, I can only cover my mouth, mute the microphone, do so many things at one time.
I got you. It's really fun at work when I'm leaving someone a voicemail and I'm like trying to outrun a call for a sneeze.
Yeah.
So I just, it's like, hey, we called you about bye. And just, if you ever hear me speed up at the end of a voicemail, it's because I'm going to sneeze or cough or something. All right. Now you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Marvel fans. Venom's an X-Man now.
Quicksilver is insane. Again.
Democracy on Monster Island.
All this week and more on this week's episode of the 6 Months Behind podcast.
We'll do it again.
What happened?
You said all this week. You said all this week and more.
I thought I said all this and more.
You said week like 3 times.
Oh, crap. All right.
Hey there, Marvel fans. Venom's an X-Man now.
Quicksilver is insane. Again.
Democracy on Monster Island.
All this and more on this week's episode of the 6 Months Behind podcast.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of 7/30/18. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
This week we're Bud Island, and Fred Smith. I'm still thinking about Monster Island. Just because we can be, man. I heard a funny story on the way home and I want to relate it. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm all right. You're tired. You're a lot, but you're tired, but we're going to get through it. I'm driving home and there's this guy I listen to every day. He's very good. I'll tell you how good he is. He's filling in for Jim Rome the next 2 days. Okay, that's how good this Memphis radio sports guy is.
Who's Jim Rome?
Okay, never mind. Our listeners will know who Jim Rome is. Anywho,
I guarantee no one who's listening to this knows who Jim Rome is.
The 2 highest paid personalities in radio, well, 3. Howard Stern, Rush Limbaugh, Jim Rome.
And us, the 4th.
Sure. So they're talking about the city that hated its NFL team, which is Memphis. And I'm going to try and keep this story short. So for decades, Memphis wanted an NFL team, much like Birmingham did. And when the last time the NFL expanded and went to 32 teams, they narrowed it down to 4 teams. It was Charlotte, Memphis, Jacksonville, and I forget who the other city was. It was I don't know, Portugal or something. Anyway.
Portugal's in Spain.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. It was somewhere. So they come out and they announce the first city, which was Charlotte. And they said, we're going to give everybody else 30 days to arrange their financing. And Fred Smith, who was held up his hand and said, wait a minute, I'm writing you a check for $200 million. I'll put it in your bank account this afternoon. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, Fred Smith founded and owns FedEx. Okay. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's really close. He's like, I'll write the check, put it in your account this afternoon. What's this stuff about arranging financing? So what they did is they waited 30 days for the Jacksonville people to get their money in order and then give the team to them. They never did get the money in order. The franchise in Jacksonville has been a fiasco from day one. If you ever watch a Jacksonville game, they've got half the stadium torqued over because they can't sell the seats. So Jacksonville's the only city that's getting games blacked out, and they didn't give it to Memphis. Now, the thing that happened next.
Also, everyone in Jacksonville's too busy shooting heroin to go to football games.
Sure, absolutely. But
I have family in Jacksonville. They're all too busy shooting heroin to buy football tickets.
A year later, the Houston Oilers decide to move to Nashville. But they don't have a stadium in Nashville. And if you put it in Vanderbilt Stadium at the time, you couldn't sell beer. And if you put it in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville at the time, you couldn't sell beer. So they thought, oh, we know what we'll do. We'll park it in Memphis for 2 years while Nashville builds their stadium. Okay. Here's the thing. Everybody in Memphis was so mad at the NFL and Paul Tagliabue and Bud Adams that they stuck up the middle finger and nobody went to the games, man. They averaged like 5,000 people for attendance for the games. And the reason it got 5,000 is when the Steelers came, the stadium was 3/4 full with Steelers fans. That's the only way.
Lord.
Dude, it was a disaster. After 1 year, they pulled the plug and said, we'll just play in Vanderbilt Stadium and forget the beer and all that stuff. We'll move on to Nashville, and we're sorry. And dude, it was a good Oilers team. It was the team that had Steve McNair and Eddie George. And like 3 years later, they were in the Super Bowl, man. It was a good team. Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah, dude, you can't be a 4th-tier city and get an NFL team. Sorry. And at the time, that's what Memphis was, and Birmingham still is. So,
2 years later, they got the NBA team. And then
right, which is what anybody cared about. Nobody cares about an NFL team in Memphis.
They cared a lot, but once the NFL burned them, they were like, "We're over it, man."
Yeah, dude, it took my entire lifetime just to build a stadium here in Birmingham. It still hadn't been built. It's just they finally got the deal done.
Yeah, they've been slowly tearing Legion Field apart a piece at a time for like the last 20 years.
Oh no, they're going to spend money to restore Legion Field too.
Why?
I don't know. I wish they would burn the thing to the ground.
Dude, nobody wants to go to that stadium. Nobody.
The stadium was built in the 50s, and it's in a horrible part of town.
Literally, it across the street is low income housing. Across the street, there's no. So you have to park in this low income housing and pray that your car doesn't get stolen.
Yeah, I mean, like they have to put anytime they have an event there, half the police force has to be there because it's such a bad area of Birmingham.
Yeah,
and dude, that's why no one goes to UAB games. UAB's gotten huge. There's even at Legion Field, they're selling more tickets than they ever have, and there's a lot of support behind UAB. But I guarantee you, as soon as they build that stadium and start playing in it, you'll see more people in Birmingham wearing UAB gear than you'll see Alabama or Auburn.
Sure.
But they haven't over the years because nobody wants to go to Legion Field.
Sure.
So, but we've got a soccer league now, and we've got UAB and a bunch of other stuff, so we can pretend to be one of those big cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memphis has the NBA Grizzlies and the NCAA Tigers both playing basketball, and that's all anyone cares about at this point.
Right. Well, if you want to get in touch with us about sports that you like, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
What prompted this conversation was an article called "The City That Hated Its NFL Team," and I'm going to post that article on the website, which is www.6monthsbehind.com.
Cool.
Dude, I got Fantastic Four #1 today. I picked it up.
I thought that came out today.
Over there to be read. There's this website that does the best covers of the week, and the best one of the best covers was Fantastic Four cover number R. Okay, because Marvel letters their covers R, which means there's somewhere between 15 and 20 alternate covers for Fantastic Four #1.
Oh, there was a ton of them. I saw somebody talking about them on social media about how many people did alternate covers for this new Fantastic Four, and they're all really good looking. But
I saw them in Marvel's previews. A lot of them really look good, but dude, there's
do you need that many covers? I guess you do. It's going to be hot on the secondary market, so
I guess, man. Did you we mentioned that I sent you a text about it. I don't know if you got to read it or not, but Disney announced today that it's pulling its movies from Netflix in 2019.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had always known that.
But everybody wanted to know what the last movie would be that actually made it to Netflix, and it'll be Ant-Man and the Wasp. It won't be the Star Wars movie in January or December. Ant-Man and the Wasp be the last one that goes to Netflix.
There won't be a Star Wars movie in December.
I thought there was.
No, we have a year and a half to wait for another Star Wars movie.
Where they're putting out like Solo or Star Wars or whatever every December.
They rushed Solo so that they could have a year and a half between Star Wars movies for no good reason.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's half the reason why Solo tanked in the movie theaters. Which, by the way, Solo was really good, and I hope that ends up on Netflix because I'd like to watch it again because I really enjoyed that movie. But
probably will.
They rushed it just to make that, just so it could come out 3 months after the other movie, only to have a desert of Star Wars movies for a year and a half.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand it at all.
It's called stupidity.
So this article I read talked about everything that Disney's going to have on their new channels.
Dude, it's a ton of franchises. It's so much.
And you got all the Disney cartoons they've made for years. You got all the Disney movies, right? You got the whole all 9 Star at that point, 9 Star Wars movies, 8 soon to be 9. Okay, you got all the Marvel movies. You got all the Fox movies. Okay, you've got the Alien and Predator series.
Mm-hmm.
You got everything that ever appeared on FX. Say, Sunny in Philadelphia, Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You got all those shows. You got
Simpsons.
You got the Simpsons. You got the Planet of the Apes franchise. I mean, you look at all these things, and there's all the TV shows that Fox has made over the years because they inherited that also.
Mm-hmm.
And all those shows that go with the Simpsons, King of the Hill, the Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, all those are coming. Dude, you're right there. You've got enough to compete with Netflix.
I was going to say, if they put all that stuff on the service, which I hope they do, because I just want King of the Hill streaming somewhere. Yeah, you can compete with Netflix on day one.
Yeah, absolutely. You competitively and roll it out, man.
I don't know what they're going to charge for it, but I don't really care. I'll probably subscribe.
Yeah, probably so.
I'll almost certainly subscribe.
Yeah, it's true.
Heck, I'm probably going to subscribe to the DC thing.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm not sold on it. I'd see.
It's got enough stuff on it that I'll probably at least check it out for the free trial.
Where are they going to pull their stuff from Netflix?
I have no idea. They're supposed to be rolling out the streaming service within the year.
Dude,
so
Netflix or CW, I should say, is like superheroes every night. They're in the crossover this year. There's going to be a Batgirl is going to be in Gotham in the crossover, and assuming it goes well, I forget Ruby Rose, I think, is the actress, and assuming it goes well, they're going to launch a Batgirl series in 2019.
I don't know who Ruby Rose is, but okay, I'm down with that. I'm down with the Batgirl series.
She's an actress that was in. I don't know, man.
Hey, so if Disney now owns Fox, they technically own Gotham. How's that work?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a Batman show on the Disney
TV shows
service?
Are funny because some of them are owned by the networks and some of them are owned independently. Like, Jerry Seinfeld actually owned his TV show.
Yeah.
He and Larry David did, which is why Jerry Seinfeld is worth a freaking $1 billion because he owned the Seinfeld show. Whereas something like Roseanne or ABC owns. Okay, so ABC could put it wherever they want to. And another example is Last Man Standing is owned by Tim Allen, so he was able to take it to Fox. When ABC, I'll take it to Fox. It's who actually owns the show. So in this case, I assume that DC owns the show and they're simply letting Fox air it.
Yeah, that's I guess.
I guess there was a show that got canceled on network television and got picked up on Netflix, and I forget what it was.
Oh, there's been a bunch of those.
Well, yeah, of course, Arrested Development's the biggest one, but there was another one this year, a sci-fi show, and I forget what it was.
Oh, yeah, because it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a real big deal. Nobody wanted it canceled, and then Netflix picked it up for X number of episodes, and
Yeah, I should be able to remember that because it was a huge deal. I don't remember though. Oh well.
you haven't figured it out by yet. We're geeks who talk about a lot of spoilers. So, and we talk about what's going on in the Marvel world. And if you get spoiled and you don't want to get spoiled, tune away now. Come back after you've read this week's books or all the books for the next 6 months and see us then.
Yeah, typically this show is about reviewing and recapping the comic books that came out in Marvel Unlimited, but this week we're just talking about everything. But I guess we're going to move on.
Yeah, when you're ready. And just before we got any closer to spoilers, I wanted to give people a disclaimer.
Yeah. Do you think Disney will keep stuff on like Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that? Because currently Bob's Burgers is streaming on both Netflix and Hulu. You can watch it on both.
It's first off, that Hulu deal is so confusing because NBC owns part of it, and I think Fox owns. Somebody bought the majority of it last year. I don't understand that.
Yeah, everybody's got their hand in the pot on that one.
Yeah. So at some point, networks, the last few years, networks own these shows, and they own the shows for this reason. Okay, there are some shows you can't find anywhere but on CBS's streaming service because they own it. That's the way they want it.
Yeah.
You don't find the Big Bang Theory streaming anywhere.
You can't even get it on CBS's own streaming service.
Really?
Yeah, dude, we talked about this last year because I picked up CBS All Access because I wanted to watch Star Trek Discovery, which was good, and I'll resubscribe again in the fall or whenever Discovery comes back. But the reason I didn't keep it is I can't watch Big Bang Theory. It's not there.
That's unbelievable. They're talking about
it's a crime. It's the dumbest decision anyone has ever made. You're not going to put your number one television show on your streaming service. Do you know how many subscribers you would pick up just because it's there?
I understand.
You make whatever deal you have to get that. That's bad management. I could do that person's job better than they could.
I know.
What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
They're talking about renewing it for another season or two.
Renewing what?
Big Bang Theory.
Oh, okay.
I got the ground. I knew that was going to make you happy.
Look, I like that show. I just feel like at some point it gets real long in the tooth and you've run out of things to do with the characters, and all of a sudden they're in retirement homes and you're still making jokes.
I haven't yet, but they're getting close. But they haven't yet. Okay, you've got them all married. They're having kids. It's you're reaching that point, but that doesn't mean that you can't. They can't get there eventually. But
yeah,
good. I mean, it's by far the most entertaining show on TV as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I wouldn't call it that. I'd say it's a decent show. It's a nice little sitcom, but it's not the most entertaining show on television.
Well, that depends on your taste.
Yeah, and dude, I mean, really, against Game of Thrones, against Westworld, against Star Trek Discovery, against all the CW show, against everything on television, you're gonna pick Big Bang Theory?
I only get the Game of Thrones 8 episodes every 3 years, so it's hard to say that show's consistently there.
They have come out with a season, 10 episodes every year, but the most recent.
Yes, and we got that a year ago, and before that it was a year, and we're not even getting
it's been a year every year except this past one.
We're not even getting a season in 2018. Let's put it that way.
Okay, but that's the only year that we haven't gotten one.
Okay.
The show's still on TV. The show's still airing.
We have 68 episodes of Game of Thrones and about 300 episodes of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, but the quality, we're talking about quality, not quantity.
And I think the quality of the Big Bang Theory, it's two different genres. Okay.
Sure.
I
You're
mean,
comparing apples and oranges for
yeah,
sure.
but yes, I think the Big Bang Theory is more entertaining,
Okay, you think Big Bang Theory is a better show than Game of Thrones. Got it.
more entertaining. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. See which one's won more awards, man.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Okay. But again, we are comparing apples and oranges. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Dude, there was an episode I sat down the other night, and there was one that was on TBS, and um, I forget what it was, but it was on, and I just, dude, I've seen that episode 6 times, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. I forget what it was, man, but it was hilarious.
Oh, it's a funny show, no doubt. I enjoy the show. I just
And, and since we're just going to take this forever, and I got to go check some chicken at some point. Here's what makes it in. Here's what makes it work at this point. Okay, is you and you and I've discussed this privately. Okay, is Fonzie's whole thing was saying A for however many years. All right. Whereas they moved beyond Bazinga. Okay. They moved beyond Raj not being able to talk. Okay. They've let the characters and the stories develop. It's okay. We're not going to keep doing this bit year after year after year after year. Let's find something new this year. And because
yeah.
they've evolved the characters and they've evolved the show, it's still funny after going into its 12th season, after 11 seasons going into 12.
Sure, I agree with you. I'm just saying, they didn't make the classic sitcom mistakes of are Ross and Rachel going to get together or are they not? And they never really do. And eventually Leonard and Penny, they got back together again. There was a few seasons of tension where it was like, oh, she doesn't like him. Oh, she likes him now. Oh, they're going to break up. Oh, he's dating someone else. Oh, they're back together again. Okay, now they're, like they resolved that storyline.
Right.
They didn't, drag it out forever. It's, you're not still in 12 seasons and they're still like, will they, won't they? So I applaud them on that. They have advanced the characters. The show at one point in time, for probably the first 5 or 6 seasons of the show, you could just pick up an episode and watch it. These days, if you don't have context of the previous seasons, it's hard to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So the show has progressed. I always have this fear of shows going too long and just fizzling out at the end.
It hasn't yet. Last season's finale, for instance, and you were warned about spoilers. So here's your other warning. By the way, it's 2 or 3 weeks on a TV show, and that's long past. When Amy and Sheldon got married in season finale, and you had Mark Hamill there, and you had Will Wheaton there. Okay.
Mm.
They were both competing to be the minister, and Will Wheaton was mad because Mark Hamill was called in at the last minute. They had a real famous actress playing Amy's mother. It was just, Kathy Bates was Amy's mother.
Oh God.
Dude, it was hilarious, man. It was just hilarious. I see you smile.
I can see how that would be funny.
It was funny, man. And they've kept it evolving, which is why I think it's one of the best show on television. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Hey, at some point we should probably talk about comic books because that's what we're here for.
We probably should. So
yeah.
This week's books.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
I gotta go check that chicken. I'll be right
back. Okay, go.
Hope I gave you long enough pause there.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry about that.
You're all good.
Never let anyone tell you I can't cook. Golly, that chicken smells good. I just, Renee always does. I don't. There you go.
Yep.
Yep. We count us in?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
So in our only Avengers books this week, we have Avengers number 677, No Surrender, Part 3. And we finally learned some things in this issue about what's going on. First off, the mansion gets blown up again. Didn't Johnny Storm just bankrupt himself building the mansion?
I don't know. Didn't the mansion just get rebuilt like 10 minutes ago?
If you counted issues, it would be 4 or 5 issues ago. Dude. And they've blown it up again. In reading Marvel 2-in-1, you're going to see that Johnny Storm is bankrupt because he just refinanced the Avengers and building this mansion. So anywho, the Black Order blows up the mansion. Voyager saves everyone, takes them to the auxiliary Avengers mansion, which hasn't been seen since Avengers 16 or 17 or 53 or something. I don't know. And this whole thing is monologued by Quicksilver, because this is the Quicksilver goes crazy issue again, because he hasn't gone crazy enough times. We're going to do it again. So they get to the auxiliary mansion, and then we learn who's behind this, which is the Collector and another villain who we haven't seen before. And there's a big backlog between them, backstory, I should say, and why they're doing this. But basically, is that the Collector or the Games Master? I'm sorry, the Games Master.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, there you go. So they're having a contest, and they're doing it with Earth as the battlefield. And we see that Duma Flachi, whose name I just forgot, is still having problems. The Jarvis, the butler, thank you, is still having problems. Then they attack Rome, and they attack somewhere else. They divide the teams, and Quicksilver isn't chosen, mainly because Rogue doesn't trust him. And if you saw some of Quicksilver's actions in the last series, you understand why she doesn't trust him.
Right. And then like 3 pages later, he demonstrates exactly why he shouldn't be trusted.
Yeah, which is he takes off and goes to help a team anyway. And by the way, they're getting their butt stomped, and he gets there and facilitates that. One of the cool things about this is this dude, it's not really explained well, and it'll be explained better on page 19. But this dude actually, his control of magnetism lets him take control of Thor's hammer there on page 19, which is really cool. That's one of the ways they're defeated. The Black Order and the other team just stomped the Avengers in no time flat.
Yeah, it was okay. There's still the problem of Voyager being in and around and existing at all. But yeah, it was okay.
Getting there. It's getting there.
Dude. I already know where this is going. This is going to be some sort of she was never real and she's an implanted memory or something like that. And I get it, but I hate it. I hate it.
I can tell.
It's a trope that I really don't enjoy in comic books.
I can tell.
Speaking of tropes I don't enjoy in comic books, in X-Men Blue number 20, we have the evil twin of Charles Xavier from another timeline fighting the young X-Men.
God.
Evil Professor Xavier has the good Professor Xavier tied up somewhere. Jean Grey, who's actually dead, but apparently isn't, is able to rescue him or whatever, and they go back to their normal timeline. It's X-Men Blue sucked for a while. So,
and Marvel used to put events, just a little box, and every now and then you'll get a writer that still does it. These events take place before Jean Grey number 9 or 10, or they take place after, or whatever, to let you know where it fits in with continuity. and they just don't want to do that anymore. Next, we have X-Men Blue Annual, because you didn't get enough X-Men Blue right there. X-Men Blue Annual #1, which was really the much better of the 2 issues.
It's still 31 pages of nonsense.
It's not. I mean, dude, is Venom the hottest character out there at this point?
No, but they're trying to promote a movie. So Venom becomes an X-Man against his own will in this issue.
The symbiote, the Clintar, wants to assist the X-Men, who there's a group of Clintar who have attacked the Starjammers, who are, of course, Scott Summers' father, and they want Venom to go help them fight them, and Venom wants to. Eddie Brock doesn't. The other half of the symbiote. So, yeah, they argue about it until they take him by force, and he goes anyway. And there you go. I really enjoyed this. I know you didn't. It's part of a series called Poison X, and it will be continued next in X-Men Blue #21.
Hooray. Everyone's doing Venom crossovers.
Oh my goodness. Your enthusiasm is unbelievable.
Dude, he showed up and hijacked Amazing Spider-Man for a while. I ain't into it.
I understand.
Then we had Legion #1. If you've watched the show on FX, it is very similar. Legion's crazy. He ends up in an institution. They do stuff in the institution. It's nothing special.
Okay. Again, I enjoyed it. Next, we have Phoenix Resurrection #4. Jean Grey wakes up, and she is in her fine little town, and everything isn't as it should be. And what we find is this is in New Mexico. It's in the spot where, and we may have discussed this last week, where Jean Grey and Scott Summers, before the Dark Phoenix saga, Jean Grey took him, and they had a psychic bond, and that's where this was created. So last issue, we find it. The door opened last issue. The questions asked, who's crazy enough to walk through that door first? And of course, it's Old Man Logan, because he's the only one crazy enough to go through. The X-Men get in there and start fighting different people, and then we get to Annie's diner where Jean is, and of course they're trying to discuss who's going to go in there, and it's down to Cyclops and Old Man Logan, and finally Old Man Logan goes in and begins to have a conversation with Jean, which is where the issue ends. This was a good issue, man. I enjoyed it.
It wasn't bad. It's all coming together now.
Yeah. And this is, I tell you what, I won't spoil issue 5 by telling you what this is, but it's good. It was a good issue.
Yeah. This is probably the most interesting X-Men storyline they've done in a while.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where it goes. And it all when you read the first issue, none of this makes sense, and they have tied everything together through various clues over the last 3 issues. So I'm good to see I'm glad to see the plot coming together instead of it just being weirdness the whole time, and then it's just like they just tell you what's going on instead of you being able to put the pieces together.
Sure.
Because that happens a lot. They tend to have this really out there storyline where you're super confused, and they just tell you what happens or how it all fits together. And it's like, let me solve the mystery. That's half the fun.
Yeah, which is what they're doing here, and there you go.
Amazing Spider-Man 794. So do you remember, I don't know, a year or so ago that Spider-Man was fighting the Zodiac?
Absolutely. And that year is now up, and the Zodiac is, there you go.
Yeah. So they locked the Zodiac dude in the vault. He had seen everything that was going to happen within the year. Well, what takes place in this issue is a revisiting of that in a sort. It's been a year later, even though in the rest of the Marvel universe it's been like 3 months. But it's been like a year later, and this rogue Shield team goes to the vault, which is like an underwater place where Shield used to keep all their super volatile objects, and steals the Zodiac key and something else, which we don't see later. But their subsequent theft of the Zodiac key creates the opportunity for them to also steal something else that we'll see in a moment. The rest of the issue is Spider-Man trying to keep Zodiac from being released. He fails, and then he trying to put him back in the vault again so he can't wreak havoc all over the world, which he succeeds at. The whole point of this issue is to get us to the last 2 pages, which is 2 people delivering something to Norman Osborn. That something that they're delivering was something that he wanted out of the vault. And that something that Norman Osborn wanted was the Carnage symbiote.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good.
That is going to be good.
And you could probably guess where that's going.
Yeah. Next up, we have Pat Myers butchering the word of the week. I'm sorry, no. Next up, we have the Inhumans. And our only Inhumans is Inhumans number 1, Judgment Day. If you followed the previous Inhumans series, which I believe has been canceled, it leads to this because you have these villains that were called the what are they?
I didn't read this.
Progenitors.
Progenitors.
Anyway, progenitors. They're basically the golly. I need to get hit in the head one more time in life.
They're the creators of all of the races.
Yeah, there was something else I was trying to parallel to. They're just giant beings like the other giant beings. Anywho,
like
so
the you're thinking of
okay, good. So you haven't been hit in the head and you can't remember either. The Celestials.
Celestials, that's them.
Yeah, they're basically Celestials. I mean, we're out of New Ideals, so they just, they came up with Celestials. And somewhere the Inhumans created another. They're not on New Attilan anymore. They've got a place in the moon, which I don't remember that happening. And then Medusa and Black Bolt are there trying to figure out whether or not they love each other. And she's like, no, I love the dude that got killed, except he's not really killed because he's at the end of this issue. There's an amazing page of art on page 23 that looks really good when Medusa gets her powers back. And yeah, they're coming to, kill the Inhumans and everyone left.
Yeah, they're putting all the pieces in place to kill them all in this next coming event or series or whatever.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm reading this, and then I read Death of the Inhumans, I think.
Yeah, Death of the Inhumans.
Dude, that's good. Okay, this is that's really good.
Are you sure?
I'm positive, man. I've
read the first 2 issues. If an Inhuman book's actually good.
Let me put it this way: they're racking up a massive body count of dead Inhumans in the first 2 books. But see, there you go.
Okay, maybe it's not so bad.
You'll enjoy it too, man. It's not that bad.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't been listening, you should know that I hate the Inhumans with a passion.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, in our 616 universe, we have the Black Panther, and we kind of joked about whether or not this should be one of the teasers that we do at the top end of the show, because there's like 1 page of dialogue, maybe 2, and then the whole thing's become silent because Claw is using his powers to reanimate, I don't know, his wife, his girlfriend, somebody. And at that point, nobody can hear anything. So the rest of the book is done simply in art with no
dialogue.
Thank you. Dialogue. Again, need to be hit in the head one more time. I actually did it twice last week. 2 concussions last week. It was unbelievable. And then we've got the 2 members of the Dora Milaje who have been captured.
Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje, thank you. Maybe that would be the word that Pat butchers this week. And during the confusion of Claw making his attack, they managed to get free, and it's really pretty cool. I'm kind of soft selling this because there's no dialogue in it, but it's really entertaining just seeing the action sequences of them fighting their way out. And of course, they eventually do. They're reunited. Claw's girlfriend or wife or whatever she is reunited. His sister. Okay, good. His sister. And then we get to an invasion there at the end when they're finally dialoguing like the last 3 panels.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this issue because I've seen this done before in, was it another issue of Black Panther?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where they just do visual storytelling. And if you don't know anything about storytelling, dude, doing nothing but visual storytelling, even in a medium like this, is really, really difficult. It is not easy at all. I mean, to be able to make a cohesive storyline work just through the action you're seeing in a static image, a series of static images, takes not only artistic talent but narrative talent as well. So I was particularly impressed with this issue of Black Panther, in a storyline that I've not been particularly keen on. I mean, don't get me wrong, Claw's okay. I mean, he's always the big Black Panther big bad, but I feel like this storyline has gone on for too long. So, you know, it is what it is. But this was a really good issue. This was a solid issue. Moving on to Luke Cage. First of all, let me say that while I'm not a huge fan of this book, it looks good. First of all, the cover's really good. You got Luke Cage with a humongous drill in his eye. That's pretty cool looking. So the whole thing with Luke Cage is that he's been fighting this hypnotist guy for the last few issues. And, you know, it's exactly what you think. He's able to get free from the mind control, and he's able to free the other people from mind control, and they rebel against the guy doing the mind control, and Luke Cage wins, and everybody lives happily ever after. The storyline is just okay. And I think you could do more interesting things with Luke Cage, but this book looks good. Not just the cover, but the interior art done by Guillermo Sana. Oh, that's why it's so good. It's Guillermo Sana. Okay. And then David F. Walker writing it. It's a good looking book. I can dig it.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it finished the storyline, and I don't know, the Circus Master isn't Circus Master, Ringmaster. I don't know. You know, he's got a giant head under a giant top hat. Who cares? So it wasn't bad though. It was, and the art was great. Speaking of great art, we have what Jim Chung is doing in Marvel 2-in-1 with Chip Zdarsky writing. This is a good series, man. It's been good. I'm buying it off the newsstand. I think it's so good. And Ben and Johnny are going after the device that Reed supposedly left for him to find out where he is, no matter what happens. They go to Mole Island. They fight the mole creatures there for a few moments until Dr. Doom comes up. And then,
well, it's not just the mole creatures. It's Mole Man, his mole creatures, and a bunch of other monsters. And there's this whole fight between them for control of the island, and like they're trying to exercise democracy among low-level intelligence creatures. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So they finally oh, by the way, this is the one where on page 17, this was really important at the time. On page 17, you learn that Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom were in college together in 1998.
Yeah. 1998. It's that Marvel sliding timeline.
Yeah, and I was trying to, when you were talking about Amazing Spider-Man, I was thinking, okay, you've just said that's a year between those issues. So that means you can take everything that's happened in all the comic books in that period of time and say that's one Marvel year. How's that sliding timeline going to work out for you? Okay.
I don't know because it's legit like maybe 16 issues.
Yeah, but this is where they reset it, and they do the same thing in the upcoming Captain America series,
Yeah.
or maybe the first Avengers book when they relaunch Avengers. They determined that Steve Rogers
Came out of the ice in like 2005 or something.
Yeah, it was right about the time the Boston Red Sox won their first World Series. Because I think he makes a joke about not being there when the Red Sox won a series, or maybe coming out just in time to see it or something like that. So,
yeah, which would have been late 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember.
Late 90s, early 2000s. By the way, your Red Sox are absolutely on fire if you're not watching.
Oh, dude, I know. I think we're going to the series.
And I was listening this morning, and they think so too. So, anywho, Doom is really upset by this because he's just convinced that Ben and Johnny don't have the intellect to operate this device. And of course, at the end of the issue, they find it, and we're off to Fantastic Four #1, which I bought today, and we'll read in 6 months.
Well, this doesn't lead directly into that.
No, it leads to them searching for him, and the great adventure that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got plenty of Marvel 2 and 1 to go before you get to Fantastic Four #1.
You've got a lot of Marvel 2 and 1 to go. Next we have Thanos number 15, which I'm just going to tell you right now, this is my book of the week. And it's funny when we sit down and read. I don't know how you read, but sometimes I read what I want to read, and then I figure out, once we assign the books, who's going to be doing what books. I'm like, okay, did I read that book? Did I not read this book? When I saw this Thanos book, I said, I want to read that. Did you read it by any chance?
I haven't kept up with Thanos at all.
Look at page 3 of it. That's a picture of the Ghost Rider. Okay.
Oh, is this where you get Cosmic Ghost Rider?
Yes.
Okay.
This is actually the second or third issue of Cosmic Ghost Rider, who in this issue we learn is Frank Castle. Okay. Yeah. Frank Castle's been on a long trip to get there. Dude, that picture of the Ghost Rider on page 3 is pretty friggin' incredible. All the artwork in this is. And young Thanos and old Thanos, basically young Thanos is running out of patience with the old man. He's just ready to do whatever it is that he's been called to do and get it over with. Do whatever it is he brought him there for. That's what he wants to do. He leads him down into the basement where they have the maestro of this dimension basically imprisoned, just feeding him whoever they happen to find that might still be alive. And the Ghost Rider is going down there to feed him. And dude, the maestro wanders over to the Hulk, over to Thanos, and says, please kill me. Okay, that's how long he's been there, and that's how long Thanos has been torturing him. And Thanos goes back upstairs, young Thanos goes back upstairs, and old Thanos is in a temple that he's built to death. And they're just apparently young Thanos disrespects the old Thanos. Then at the end, he's been telling him that the fallen one is the one that they have to fight. And it's the Silver Surfer. And when the Silver Surfer shows up on the last page, I blew this up and looked at it 5 minutes trying to figure out what it is. I think it's the Silver Surfer possessed by a symbiote with a bunch of symbiote demons behind him, but I'm not sure. But whatever it is, it really, really looks cool. And having read in the last 2 weeks, Infinity Wars Prelude and Infinity Wars #1, I'm really interested in these books because there's a lot of things that have been going on in the Guardians of the Galaxy for the last couple of years and have been going on in the Thanos books that really lead into those books. And then when you get there, #1, you realize what all this crap meant that we've been reading and wondering what this story isn't telling a story. And then #2, you realize it's really irrelevant because you realize who the villain is and you realize what's happening, and you're like, holy cow, this is a great story, man. Jerry Dugan's just doing a great job with it.
Is this like the Venom symbiote meets the Annihilation Wave.
I don't know what that is, man.
That's what it looks like.
That's being led by a Silver Surfer possessed by the Venom symbiote.
Jerry Dugan's not writing this.
No, he's been writing the Guardians of the Galaxy and is now writing the Infinity Wars.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he was writing this. I was like, no, this is Donny Cates.
No, I was talking about
up with it, but I know it's Donny Cates.
No, it's I was talking about the whole Infinity Wars thing, and this is part of that entire Infinity War arc, which is ridiculously good.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you read that stuff this week?
No. I need to catch up on Thanos because this has been really good.
It's been really good, particularly this arc. Some of the earliest stuff where he was fighting with Thane, okay, it was, but dude, they get to when Jerry Dugan gets to. Remember when they visited God Quarry a few issues ago?
Nope.
That's in it. Dude, there's all kinds of stuff there. But he's like taking the God Quarry and doing something else with it. Dude, it's just it's there's a character there at the God Quarry, and a Thor from another dimension shows up, and he's got the Infinity Gems in his breastplate, except for the Power Gem, which is part of his hammer.
Oh, that's cool,
dude! It was totally cool, man. And that's what I'm telling you is, and that Thor doesn't last long because he goes back into the other dimension. But dude, him just showing up looking like that is totally cool.
That's rad. I can get down with that.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Only Star Wars book we had this week was Poe Dameron number 23. There's a cool dogfighting scene where Poe Dameron is able to get his X-Wing back and BB-8's going to be okay. But the real meat of this is Agent Terrax has managed to overcome the machinery that's keeping him in line for the First Order. After his most recent failure, they stuck those implants in his face, and it's like he's basically a zombie. He's able to overcome it, and in doing so, kidnaps Lor Santeca and is taking him somewhere. So just as they had found Lor Santeca, now they've lost him again.
Ah.
Yep. It was okay.
Well, there you go. So what was your favorite book this week?
I'm gonna have to say Phoenix Resurrection because the rest of it was kind of lackluster, with the exception of maybe Amazing Spider-Man and Black Panther. Yeah, Marvel 2-in-1 wasn't bad.
Marvel 2-in-1 wasn't bad. Amazing Spider-Man wasn't bad. As we discussed at the top of the show, I think Amazing Spider-Man was not necessarily a filler, but was closing the gaps between the series they had going and the series that's coming with Norman Osborn.
Yeah, sometimes you get these issues where you've just got to move pieces around the board to get them
and that's what that Spider-Man book was. Yeah,
it was.
And but dude, I really enjoyed this Thanos book, and it's leading it. I didn't think I've hated on that Infinity Wars crossover for 6 months. Okay, and those books are so good, I'm actually excited about it.
Yeah, just flipping through number 15, I was like, oh man, I need to catch up on this.
Yeah.
It looks good. And you're right, that was a crazy looking picture of Ghost Rider.
Yeah, it was, man. So that's my book of the week.
Cool. Well, in the dump this week, you had Spider-Man Get Craven, which is a series from 2002. And even more Masters of Kung Fu, because apparently that series is endless.
I don't think it ever ends, man. I think it's like the Fantastic Four and there's 600 issues coming.
There must be, because that comic book does not end. They just keep adding issues and adding issues and adding issues.
I thought it was a fairly short run, man, like 50 or 60 issues max, but apparently it wasn't.
Yeah, apparently it went on for quite a while.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know. There's a bunch of big fans of that series, and I'm sure they're all glad to see this stuff getting published finally. So there you go. If you're a big fan of Masters of Kung Fu, it's been Christmas every week for you.
Yes, it is. And there'll be Christmas again next week.
6 weeks now.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. Well, all right, guys, that'll wrap us up. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind at gmail.com.
You can visit the website at www.6monthsbehind.com.
And Pat, do you want to share some wisdom with us like you normally do?
When you're stressed, you eat ice cream, chocolate, and sweets. Do you know why? Because stressed spelled backwards is desserts.
Taco Cat spelled backwards is Taco Cat.
Oh, okay.
If we're gonna play with palindromes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's your big word of the week, palindrome. I like that.
Palindromes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Palindromes are fun.
Okay.
All right. See you guys next week.
Peace.